As 2023 winds down, I thought it would be fun to show you what my production schedule is going to look like next year. My one goal in 2024 is to finish book 4. So here's how I'm going to break down my project. In Google Calendars, I am going to pick a deadline. I would actually like to have book 4 done by the time the Christmas bazaars come around next year. I already know that that's going to happen on December 7th. So I'm going to put that in my calendar. Bazaar. And since this is sort of a deadline, I'm going to change this color to red. And then I know that I'm going to have to order a proof copy, and then a box of books. Proof copies, if it's really good, you can usually get a proof copy in 2 weeks and then you don't need to edit anything, fingers crossed. So 2 weeks plus 4 weeks probably would be a pretty good lead time. So 6 weeks out, so the middle of October. I am going to pick October 13th as the day I want to completely have my book formatted, ready to go. I'm going to order my proof copy, so I'm going to say order proof copy. And this is also a deadline, so I'm going to make this red. And I usually like to give myself a little bit of time between finishing line edits and formatting just to make sure that I have everything I need to do. So I'm going to go 2 weeks back, just to give myself some extra time. So the end of September. Let's just say finalize line edits. And this is also a deadline, so I'm going to make it red. Now, I write really big books, like really big books. So last time it was almost 200,000 words, and it took my editor and me, I want to say it took us about 3 months, which is insane, but we do 2 passes back to back. Could probably do it in 2 months if we're really on top of things. It does make it, I'm the slower one, because it usually takes me a while to go through the first round, and the second round is usually just like typos and tweaks to the lines a little bit faster. So I'm going to say maybe 3 months. So I'm going to go end of September, end of August, end of July, end of June. And I'm going to say line edits. I'm just going to leave it for simplicity's sake. I'm just going to say just line edits. I'm not going to do like pass 1, pass 2. That is actually not a deadline. So I'm going to keep that purple. And I'm going to have this run all the way until the end of, what was it, September? Save. I'm going to scroll back here. Before line edits, we would be doing beta reading feedback. And I know from last time, it took my beta readers about 2 months to go through my book. That seems like a lot of time, but if you were actually reading and digging deep into things, it's not really that much time. So I'm going to say 2 months there. So, and here you can sort of like be doing them at the same time. If you are working on the end of the book with beta reader feedback, you could start line edits. This is the beauty of working with Google Docs, which is what I work with. It is very good for getting your deadlines, because before this, I was actually using Microsoft Word, and you couldn't work on anything while my editor was working on it, or my beta readers, because I couldn't see it and you couldn't access it. So Google Docs has been amazing for actually trying to hit deadlines and being flexible and working around if people are running behind. You can still kind of stay on schedule. So I'm just going to do an ideal world here, and I'm just going to say beta reading feedback is going to be over. Beta reader feedback finish. Since this is a deadline, I'm going to make it red. And then I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to count back 2 months. So beta reader feedback, and we are going to go the end of May, the end of April, save. Make sure that that actually saves this right to the end of June. Save. Okay. So now we have beta reader feedback. Line edits start. And then we have order proof copies and the Christmas Bazaar right there. Where I'm currently at right now is writing the first draft of book 4. And since I have my computer here, I can actually show you Scrivener, where my very messy document is. Project targets, I am about 142,000 words. 200,000 is my best guess. I anticipate actually probably being more because I added a 5th point of view, because that's what I do, I guess. I'm adding Asdarn. His point of view is really beneficial, and since he has a new point of view and their plot line, so it's probably going to be about 25,000 for him. So, if I can actually stay on track, you can see down here my deadline is December 30th. I really wanted to hit this deadline, so I need to write 2,700 words every day. If I write more, it is better for me. Taking that into consideration, if I do actually finish what I want to do, we're going to go all the way to January. So I like to give myself at least a week of like forgetting what I've written to come back to it with new eyes. So I'm going to say this is going to be the second rough draft. And for me, with my second rough draft, this is me filling in the places between chapters, because sometimes when I'm writing, I have like these gaps, transition gaps. I have duplicate chapters that like I'll condense. So this is a really intense draft phase for me. Some people write more cleanly. I do not. I am very messy. So this is a pretty intense thing for me. I do not worry about line editing at this point. I will sort of clean up my spelling. But I am only focused on big picture things, filling in the gap, making sure things are working, and then adding chapters and as I need them. So if I start in January, it is probably going to take me, I will say 2 months. We're just going to say 2 months because I'm trying to actually finish this. So 2 months is all the time I'm going to get. So I'm going to count forward February or March. March 7th would be 2 months. I'll give myself until the end of that. Click save, and then I'm going to go into March, and here I'm going to say finish second draft. Since this is a deadline, I'll make it red. And then immediately on the 11th, we'll begin line edits. I might give myself a week, but for just timeline's sake, I'm going to say Noel line edits. Start here, and then that will give me all the way until the end of April. Again, since I'm working with Google Docs, this actually is going to work well because I will not be done with line edits. I don't think. I try to be as good as I possibly can. And then I'll kind of merge like line edits into working the first beta reader feedback I get. Noel line edits. Finish. Save that just so that we have our deadlines there. They're red, they're easy to see. And that is a very packed schedule just because we can. Let's go ahead and say rough draft for this month. We'll put it on here for the 31st. Rough draft, finish. We're gonna be excited if I actually hit that. Save. It is a tight schedule, and when you set these goals, for me, it was really helpful to actually have deadlines, even if I end up having to push them forward or adjusting these dates. These are there for me to keep me motivated, because if I don't have a deadline, I don't feel like there's a sense of urgency, and then I kind of languish in the writing process. I get more moody of being like, well, I have so much time, I don't really need to work on it today, like that kind of thing. So having a deadline there and knowing my word count really helps me stay on track. If I am editing, I'll break it down into pages instead of words. That way I just know like a general pace. And if I can beat that, I always feel I feel really accomplished, because if I'm writing it, like if you look at Scrivener right here, it automatically calculates how many words that I need to write. And if I write more than 2,700, the word count will go down, which makes me feel really good, because then on the days when I'm not feeling it, if I can just hit par, then I'm okay with that. Some days I want to write a lot, some days I can't write a lot, so it's kind of like a good way to balance your productivity. So this is the plan for me. It is a pretty intense deadline. Even 4 books in, this to me is pretty daunting, mostly because this past year has been insane, just juggling like everything that's happened to me. So I already know that there's going to be some pretty big things like moving, selling the house, building a house that's going to come into play. So if I don't actually hit my deadline, I'm not going to be super devastated. This is just the ideal situation to keep me moving forward. So you have to plan with the life happens. Even if you are doing this full time, life still happens and you need to adjust. And if there's one thing I know about the publishing industry, is that things take longer than you think. Things happen. The people that you're coordinating with, they get busy. And so you have to kind of like try to figure out how you're going to get things done. And just be flexible with it. So don't be intimidated by me setting this schedule. It is there just to motivate me. It's not there to discourage me. And I will adjust this as I move forward in 2024 with how things are going. So what are you working on in the new year? Are you working towards publishing your first book, your second book? That's it for me this week. I hope you like the new setup. I'm pretty excited. Still working out a little bit of the setup into getting these videos done now that I've changed my process with a new camera. I will see you guys all again next week. Keep writing. Take care. Bye.